Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Drifters Atlas Presents Ascension World Building. I am your host, Zac. As always, my co host, Thomas, is right beside me there. And we are joined tonight by our wonderful guest, Erika from the Dungeon Stream.
Hi.
Erika, we're really glad to have you aboard.
Thanks. I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah. Have you ever done a collaborative world building exercise before?
I've not. So, yeah,
This will be a
it's
new
gonna be
thing.
interesting. hmm
Cool. Well, we have a really good community here, and hello to everybody who's out there at the moment. But we have a really good community. They're really fun. They give really good insight. Um, it is it's an interesting experience every time. So, the world that we're building is called Ascension. The continent is Ostwin, and every week we dive into a different section of this world and flesh it out with the help of our guest and with the help of the community. But before we do that, we're going to dive into a couple of announcements, a couple little recap things. We've been gone for a couple weeks. Um,
Everything's been a little crazy.
Everything's been a little crazy. That's about right. Um, we were hoping to do this last week, and I had a kid with a broken tooth that changed our schedule. So, anyhow, lots of things have happened. Um, Congratulations to David Barentine for another successful Kickstarter in these last 2 weeks. He crossed over the finish line and added the Player's Guide to Orianth to his list of upcoming products. So we're really excited for him, and I'm really glad that I got to be a part of it. So
It's been awesome just sort of watching from the outside that machine sort of run along.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I wasn't even part of it, and it's been fun to watch his excitement there.
Oh yeah, and he's plowing through a ton of work on it. I I'll say the last update that he gave, he is done with the initial write up of part three, almost done with part four, on to editing from there, um, and then to layout, and we're good to go. So he's making real good progress. Other than that, Thomas, you posted a link in the chat already. Do you want to talk about the upcoming Kickstarter?
Yeah. So the first adventure for Motherload, our first adventure for Ascension, is now going to be available on Kickstarter July 13th. So on July 13th, we will be launching our Kickstarter. You can go to the link I posted. It should be right over there somewhere.
Other way.
Other way?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at a camera. It's um, so it's on the chat. It's a link to get notified when we officially launch. The launch will be on the Monday the 13th. What it is it's a 1 through 3 adventure, but it's really more than that. Not only is the adventure broken up into what would we best way to describe that would be convention play or 3 one-shots basically.
I think 3 one-shots is the easiest translation of that, yeah.
So it's meant for, so Erika and Zac both understand when I say convention play. It's meant that you can come in and play it even if you haven't played the first episode or the second episode or however that works. And it's what you sort of see in a one-shot. So it'll take you through 3rd level, but there's also a lot of other really neat things that comes with it. We've already made a class or a race. There's a new race. There are a few new subclasses. There's new backgrounds and magic items. There's also quite a few new monsters. And it's all an intro into what we do here every Tuesday night. So this is all an intro into the world of Ascension, or the world of Ostwin.
Yeah. For those of you who have been following from the beginning, you will see locations that you helped us create, like the Tusk and Jagged Strait, the Narthex Crater, and a whole bunch of areas right in there. So you're going to see a lot of concepts, a lot of ideas regarding the different races and how they integrate. And again, you guys all helped with that. All of that is featured heavily in the book. So we're really excited to get it into the hands of the community at this point.
And not to mention, it's full of brand new art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, killer art. We're gonna show some of that art, I think, Thomas, about halfway through the stream. We'll give plenty of time for the latecomers to hop on, and then we'll dive right in.
Awesome. Again, another one of the crazy things that was happening last week is that Zac and I were lucky enough to run for Red Nose Day. We ran for D&D Live. So Zac and I each ran about 40 hours of D&D last weekend. 2 weekends ago, I guess now. Over the 4 days, over Thursday through Sunday, I ran 16 or 17 games, and I think Zac, you ran 19 or 20 games, right?
Yep, 19 is correct.
And overall, between us and the professionals and everyone else, we raised $315,000 for Red Nose Day.
That's awesome.
So that's pretty cool.
Yep. And I think the last announcement kind of ties in with that. We're gonna be at Gen Con, the Gen Con online at least. Erika, are you running anything at Gen Con this year? Or are you taking a hiatus?
No, yeah, I'm unavailable now.
No problem.
Yeah.
Well, that being said, you are welcome to come play. We'd love to have anybody come play at Gen Con Online with myself and Thomas. We're going to be running Adventures League games for Baldman Games all throughout that weekend. I'm going to be running a ton of Eberron. Tom's going to be running a ton of Eberron.
And I think we're only doing Eberron, right?
Eberron. And then, some of the friends that have came on here already, like John Christian, are going to be also running, and I think he's running a whole bunch of the Moonshay stuff. So there's a lot of opportunities there to play some cool games.
Yeah, pretty much anything you would have played at Gen Con or Origins, if you came to one of the Baldman held games, you would be able to play here at Gen Con.
Yep. So right now you can just go ahead and register for your badge for Gen Con. It's free. The badge is free. First time ever, I think, that you can get a free badge for Gen Con. There will be a ticket price.
Time.
Yeah, probably last time too. The ticket price for each table will have a cost to it, of course. And as I understand it, most, if not all of that ticket price is going to go to charity. So any cost that you do accrue playing at the tables, you know that it's going to a good cause. So, all right, that's that. I'm getting a little bit of lag on my end as we're broadcasting out. Seeing we're having some skip frames. That should clear up, but chat, let me know if you have issues, and we'll see what can be done. But I think we should be clearing up. It looks like it's helping. So, Thomas, I was talking with Erika a little bit before we got started, and I think that it's time that we dove into the Northern Crown and design some things around the dwarves that live up there.
I'm for it. I'm here for that.
Okay. We talked with Alex last week and designed some things for the Dark Mantle Gorge and the tiefling refugee colony that lives there. But as we were talking last week, we realized that we probably needed to get a start on the dwarven civilization over here to the central and eastern regions. And I think it's up to us. It's up to you guys how we want to do that. But I think that there's room for dwarves over here on the western bank and on the eastern bank here, or one or the other. It's up to us. So.
Are you thinking of having them over there north of the in the right there at the on the eastern shore there with the elves?
They could be next to the Evershift.
That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, they absolutely could be. I think I'm fine with that. If that's what we determine, I think that would be an interesting clash there.
Mm-hmm.
Erika, this brightly covered forest here is our interpretation of the Feywild. So it's the
Okay.
Feywild isn't a separate plane in this setting. It's tied in with this one.
Hmm.
So anything that you might imagine being Fey or Fey in natured is going to have an effect right here in the world. And then the only other thing that's close by is this tent city called Whistle.
Hmm.
And Whistle is really fun. We had a blast designing that a few weeks ago. Um, Whistle is a mobile tent city full of druids and full of um, genasi, or the genasi equivalent. And there are huge, monstrous mammoths, kind of like Mama Kill, that
Uh-huh.
kind of help transport this city around. Um, and they kind of live in the plains here, just south of the mountains. So those are the only things that butt up against these mountain ranges.
Okay.
Other than
Thomas,
that, it's pretty much free game.
yep, Thomas, I'm gonna let you take it away, and I'm just gonna sit quietly and draw for a bit. So,
You're gonna sit quietly and draw.
well, I mean that's always the plan, and then things change. So,
Gotcha. I know we're waiting for some of our regulars here still to get going, but let's get started here with the dwarves. What? So we already have the tiefling that are over here, sort of built into the side of the mountain here in Death or Dark Mantle Gorge.
Okay.
If you can see that here to the west of the screen that Zac is on,
Hmm.
that is they sort of think of the home in the mountain in Lord of the Rings or something. They're built in sort of like how dwarves would live in most fiction if they're living in a mountain.
Hmm.
So when you think the dwarves, are we thinking down tunnels into the earth? Are we thinking living in the mountains or around the mountains? What comes to your mind?
Uh, I I like the idea of like having them like kind of more on the surface so they can move through them a bit easier.
awesome. I like that.
So colonies sort of on the we talked about in these mountains probably having ram and behir maybe, or some sort of like semi-dangerous creatures, and then some very much more dangerous creatures. We also talked about a Tarask being somewhere in here.
Oh, we did talk about that. I forgot.
It's always a good option.
Something locked away, sort of away from society for some reason.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, yeah, we
but it's
definitely talked about that.
close enough that it can get people into trouble, I think.
Hmm.
Hey, I see Garuda, who is Alex from a couple weeks ago in the chat. Welcome, Alex. Glad to have you. And we see David in the chat. Welcome, David. Glad to have you. Glad to have you back. But yeah, we talked about a Trask that was sleeping. I forgot about that. Like somewhere here, tucked into these sheer mountain ranges, there is a Trask that is slumbering that the adventurers could happen upon. I don't know that there's a whole lot built up around it, but that definitely needs to be noted on here so I don't forget.
It's
It'd be,
noted in the I think it's
The
noted
Legend
in
Keeper.
Legend Keeper, yep.
yeah, it's cool to like maybe think of that like one of those like old legends. Like there's a tale of this Taras that some say is still sleeping down there, and
Exactly.
kind of yeah,
Exactly.
and
That's right.
only the brave. Uh,
Have been eaten.
yeah,
Only the brave have been eaten.
and only the smart have not encountered it.
Only the smart don't believe that it's there.
Let's see. I think I'm just going to put an icon on there, and I'm not going to name it, just so prying eyes of players, as this map gets shared around, don't realize what might actually be there. Um, yeah. Well, do you like that placement, as far as like we talked about it being somewhat close to the tieflings and tucked into the mountains. Are we happy there?
Yeah, we're happy. I think that's a decent spot. The other spot is to go put it in the north of the Fae and have it play over there.
Ooh, that would also be
I'm
cool.
I'm okay with either option.
I'm happy. I can definitely
You happy
move
with it?
I can move it wherever, and be happy at any placement that we like. Let's see.
I am fine with it in that crater, but
Okay, cool. Make it a little bigger. Yeah, there we go. All right, so that's that. Glad you remembered that. Uh, let's dive back over here. David and Alex, we're making a dwarf uh, society, and we're trying to figure out where they live, how they live, and really the only thing that we've gotten right now is that we've kind of determined that we like that they are largely on the surface. Is that right, Erika? Or like at least they live on the surface so that they can kind of move
Yeah.
around more that way.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm. I like that. So they're going to definitely be a visible race, not tucked away and hidden and unknown, which makes sense. The only thing that we talked about with dwarves before is that there's a lot of dwarven mercenaries in this continent. They're signing up for military service with different kingdoms. They're signing up to do a lot of mining in specialized areas in for specific kingdoms. So they're definitely a civilization that interacts with others.
yes, the question I guess I have next for Erica is do they interact with the tiefling?
Maybe it could be not necessarily warring factions, but they've interacted more in the past and maybe something uh there's a falling out and now they are separate and don't like each other.
Ooh,
But they have a history together.
that's cool.
That
Uh,
sounds like every relationship of my life.
I'm down with that. That's an interesting. I don't think that we have a whole lot of that like broken. We'll call it like a broken alliance. Is that kind of the
Yeah.
right thing? Like they're not
Yeah.
enemies, but they're not coordinated friends
Hmm.
at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds right.
Let's see. Let's see. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, Dave coming in with some. I think he's still. You're still talking about the Trask, right? Um, there in chat. We'll see if he. I think he's still talking about the Trask, but we may have to add that. Yep. Okay. Cool. So he's saying maybe we could incorporate the dwarves into this because I would love to get the dwarves involved here. He's suggesting that maybe there's some mages that hire people to go harvest things from the sleeping Tarask. And I love the idea of dwarven mages, just in general.
Dwarven mages are cool because they get to wear
Hmm.
armor.
It's not that far. We could definitely put like a. I mean, I think the dwarves probably took over a large section of these mountains, so we can add more uh, towers closer by and make it make sense a little bit.
Placing pins. Need some information here. Dwarven mages. So is this a faction of mages? Is this something like the Harpers sort of thing, or a faction like a? I don't know what the word I'm looking for here is. It's not faction. Isn't the right word. Is this, I would think a school,
Like a
maybe
guild?
a
Yeah.
guild, maybe. Yeah.
A school. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
another good word for it, David. It depends on if you like. Some of that language is tied to classes at this point. So, like, if we want them to be wizards, then it 100% should be a school, right? Um, or if we
Mhm.
want mages to be a more loose term that can be a variety of spellcasters, then maybe it's a different word.
Enchanters.
Enchanters, yeah, that's a cool idea because enchanters to me implies that it's magic that's specifically meant to imbue things, right?
Mhm.
Um, Infusing items and spells, yeah, that could be a cool way of pitching these.
It's a cool. I mean, if I heard that there was a whole city of enchanters, and I am the player who wants all kinds of cool enchanted gear, that's a draw for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mountains. Where's mountains here?
I don't know. I don't know about everyone else, but I know that when I see that, I'm like, oh, you know what enchanting means? Cool new magic items to spend my money on.
I think we're all in that same boat.
Oh
Maybe
yeah.
not if you're stuck in a dungeon for
Fair.
chasing acid for.
Fair. Fair. I just give you magic items at that point. That's how that works. Let's see.
We shall see. You had to kill off my aunt to give me anything even super cool and semi cool.
Fair. David is talking about, yeah, I think that's a wondrous little like marriage there of dwarves and enchanters. Kind of, they work well together. So I think that's cool, and it gives them something to do that's not super stereotypical dwarvy, even though it does feel dwarvy.
Dwarven enchanters pillaging the mountain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is a very Erebor feel, right? Like from The
Yeah.
Hobbit, like it's
Yeah.
uh,
Dwarven enchanters pillaging the mountain for supplies for magical crafts.
so I love the idea that they're going after the Tarask, but David and Erika and Alex and everybody else, what other ideas do we have for resources that these dwarves would be after if they're going to be enchanters and if they're going to be scouring these mountains? Obviously, we could say precious metals and yada yada, but
Mhm.
are there any unique things other than the Tarask that they're going after?
Jeez, I spelled Tarask right the first time.
Maybe.
The meth stuff you guys made.
That's it. I
Yeah,
love that
that's
that's
it.
how you see it, Alex.
Yeah.
Uh, that's a fair um, that's a fair way of calling it that. Yeah, there could definitely be some fibrum in these mountains. There's probably not a ton, but there could, like you said, there could be a um, a hidden vein. I like that. Now,
Mhm.
dead people, David, you got to be more specific than dead people. Um, I'm intrigued, but I don't know if I don't know what I'm intrigued by at this point. Okay. Um,
Dead dwarves aren't bothered by dead people. I'll put that out there right now.
Fair.
The only dwarf I know almost died at like age 6, and he told us a story about falling out of the back of a truck. So
Dwarven DM. I don't like that. Okay. I think we could definitely add a note in here, and we should probably explore that a little bit. If we're gonna have a fibrum chunk, a fibrum vein, over in these mountains, you're probably exactly right, Alex. It's super secret. There's no way the dwarves are telling anyone about that because that would send a gold rush this way. Um, so that's a good call, and that's a fun thing. Gives them a secret to maybe that's part of the reason that they broke off ties from the tieflings.
They found this and
Yeah.
didn't want to. Oh, that's cool, because the dwarves are the bad guys, not the tiefling.
Well, not even. Yeah, they're not even necessarily bad guys, right? They're just like.
Just like antagonist.
Yeah, and they're just they're money savvy, and they're like, our relationship, our diplomatic relationship with the tieflings is not worth sharing this hidden deposit.
Yeah, it's like
David.
we trust you guys, but not enough to have this. We don't trust you to have this in your hands.
No offense to you, we don't trust anyone. That's kind of the feel that I'm getting here, right? Okay, so I'm on board with that. I've got to read some of David's paragraphs here. Okay, this is the scene of an ancient battle, very vicious. Legends say that the lands themselves were painted with blood, and fields don't grow from the places where the blood soiled the lands. The amount of damage here scarred the area magically, maybe even a flow of necrotic energy that always holds on this land. But the necrotic energy can also heal. So what if they were stealing life from the grave, from those that were felled on the fields? That is interesting.
Delicate dance between them. They pull too much, it will cause the army to return and seek to take back what was stolen. You have now taken this away from the eccentric enchanters to necromantic dwarves.
Well, they're not. They're actually. They're not dealing with undead. They're intentionally trying to avoid dealing with undead, right? Like that's what I'm reading. Is they really they 100% don't want wraiths coming back and hanging out. Interesting. So Dave, I love the idea of like this battlefield where they're pulling. It is probably necromancy though, right? I mean, I'm rethinking this.
I mean, cure wounds is technically necromancy.
Right, right. And like if you're pulling any sort of energy from the dead, I feel like that's a necromancy of sorts, right? Even if you're not bringing them, animating them, or bringing them back to life, you're interacting with powers of the dead. Um, that's really cool, actually. I don't know that I'm 100% sold that it needs to be just a healing thing. Like I could see this being, again, if we tie to the enchanting side of things, like they're just siphoning off residual magic from I really want to like, to me, enchanting always has a material component, right? I
Right.
feel like they actually need to be using something from the bodies of the dead or the spirits of the dead to like infuse the items. That's a good question, Alex. If healing magic is common, why take the risk? That's a good question. Um, and yeah, there'd have to be something that made it better.
So would this be like we've talked multiple different episodes about like subclasses? Is this some sort of subclass that's dwarf only?
Oh well, 100% is like dwarf inspired, right? Like if we were gonna do this, I think you could always make the argument that your character was trained by dwarves or whatever. Um,
Well,
but
it all depends on which edition you're on. There's definitely editions where you could only
fair, yeah, that's true.
play.
That's
I
very
know
true.
we do this for 5th edition. That's our thing. But that doesn't mean that we have to follow what 5th edition is.
Very
That
true.
says,
Very true. Very true. I'm just.
Or, oh, sorry.
It's all.
Even if it's not race specific, it could be region specific. It could be specifically only this region. Maybe the tieflings also have access to this school, this subclass.
Ooh, that could be interesting. That like they have it because that was a thing that they learned from the dwarves before they were kind of excommunicated from that.
or this battle took place between their two homelands. It's what's drawn to Tarask.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's definitely like, oh man, gosh, that's really actually a good call. I think that the battlefield is like right up in here, just south of the Tarask, and it's probably it's like the last. Today is just gonna be a day for Middle Earth quotes or references, but it's very much like the last Alliance battlefield, like the Dead Marshes, right? It's like here is where the army fought against the Tarask and put it into its slumber or whatever. Um, that's maybe the histories of the battle.
No, nobody fights a Tarask and puts a Tarask in slumber. The Tarask is deciding to sleep because
It ate too. It
too
got
much
its
during the
fill.
battle.
Yeah, fair.
And just happened to sleep for the next 200 years or whatever. I don't know, but it's hard to say that somebody used power to trap the Tarask.
I may have misspoken.
Okay.
You're bringing home some good points. So let's see. Yeah, that's looking all right.
So do we do battlefield in the area, or do we do like battlefield like into the mountains? Maybe the Tarask is feeding off of this kind of energy as well.
That's cool. Yeah, Dave, we definitely need a name for this area, so we could definitely do something there. Ooh, yeah. All right, so
I don't know if we can seal away the Tarask.
have the dwarven ancestors founders subdued the beast by expending and essentially sealing away magics as such to maintain the ability to compete with rival kingdoms. Expand on that a little more, Alex, because I'm intrigued, but I want to hear more. Capillaries is cool. Mountain range, Dave, is the mountain range is already called the Northern Crown. That being said, we could 100% name a subset of it the capillaries, which is cool.
Well, you were saying the battlegrounds could kind of bleed into the mountains. Maybe if that were the case, those parts would be the capillaries, the ones where like the trenches kind of snaked up.
That's cool. Yep. Um, I like that, Alex. I like the idea. What if we kind of did a best of? What if we kind of split the middle? What if the Tarask slept itself, is asleep on its own, but the dwarves are, in this idea of enchantment, they are prolonging its slumber, and it's requiring a massive effort. And they're the ones kind of like keeping the sleeping apocalypse at bay.
Mm-hmm.
Grab some of these trees here if I can. Just duplicate them. Wait, no. Let's see. Death energies, good and evil. Yada yada yada. Yeah. I think we're. So I'm gonna do my little labels here, and we're gonna call this the capillaries while I'm thinking about it. Let's put it here. That's a fun name. I like that. It's very magey, and it's also very. It also has that connotation of life and blood and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Alex, Trask are tricky things because they're like indestructible demigod dragons. I mean, they're none of
Yeah.
those things, but that's kind of where they sit, right? So they're killing machines that don't do much other than kill things. But they do sleep. We do know that, right? That's a kind of a point of theirs. So if they feasted on, they're the biggest creature in the monster manual. They're the highest CR creature in the monster manual. They're like CR, what is it, like 28 or 30?
Yeah.
So if they consumed an entire army, if one consumed an entire army, perhaps that is justification for a return to slumber.
Yeah, or at least destroying everything. Like I don't know if they consumed an entire army, but they definitely came in and did some work.
Yeah. Well, they probably consumed more than an army. They probably were on a rampage for decades and then came back to take a nap. Okay. So I'm gonna put some more trees here and kind of make this the dead zone still. But what else do we like for? Let's talk some more about this dead battlefield because I'm not sure that we fully have a solid grasp on how it works and what it looks like. Is I don't want it to necessarily be a swamp because I feel like that's too much on the nose with
Just
with
right there.
thing. Yeah. But
the hobbits are walking through the swamp and they see dwarves and tieflings in the water.
Yeah, it's all good. That being said, it could definitely be like, so I'm putting some trees here, so it could be a forest, like a dead forest or something, or it could be. I'm kind of thinking about the thing that came to my mind with this, which it's not how you imagine it, but the Battle of Shiloh Memorial here in the States.
You'll have to say a little bit more than that. I'm not.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
I'm not up on this one, unfortunately.
No, that's all fine. Alex may know quite a bit about this. I wouldn't be surprised, but like, so the Battle of Shiloh was the bloodiest battle of the Civil War, and there's like even a pond there on the grounds that was renamed after the battle to be called the Bloody Pond because, as the story goes, it was red by the time the battle was over. Like the pond's color had changed. And there's like all these different fields and things that you can walk through, and a lot of it is now overgrown. There's tree lines where there wasn't tree lines before, and all this. But when you go there, just having the understanding that there's, hundreds, if not thousands, of men died here, creates an atmosphere where you could drive 2 miles down the road and see a field and a tree line that looks almost exactly the same, and there's no atmosphere, So I wonder if it's that way, where it's not visually a mood, but there's a mood that's felt. The spirits are there, the whatever's there still. But I'm not 100% sold. I can delete all these trees if we don't want it to be that way.
Yeah, I don't know. When you said that, I kind of visualized the complete opposite of like it being like desert, like just bone dry, like only like 3 trees like miles away. Like you see tumbleweeds, you see the bones still there, like just on the ground.
Like that's cool. Hey Shadow Nim, welcome. That's also cool. So that's kind of like the elephant graveyard from the Lion King.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of cool. Well, here, I'll start deleting trees because I like that. Yeah, we can definitely have a graveyard like that instead. That's really interesting. Uh,
And yes, Alex, when you say, so what's the cost to keep you asleep? And so it's just said, eh, killed a bunch of dudes, now time to nap. That is sort of the lore behind the Trask.
Grows bored quickly.
Shadow, we are making a world right here on stream. We do this every week on Tuesday evenings. This is for our own community generated setting. And so right now we are up here in the Northern Crown Mountain Range discussing Sleeping Tarask. We're discussing a Dwarven kingdom. But the kind of the premise of this channel is that we all sit here once a week and build things, and then Thomas and I take them back, over the course of the weeks, we write content for these worlds. So we have a Patreon that you can get content that's made from this map, and we also have a Kickstarter that's upcoming, where you can play an adventure in this world. It has a lot of locations and creatures and lore that the community came up with. Um, so yeah, it's just a community world building stream. This map program is called Wonder Draft, and we really like it. I think it's $30, and it's a lot of fun. And then we're also using Legend Keeper there on the top left side of your screen to kind of take notes and record things. Ooh, any alien crash sites? Not
Sort
yet.
of.
Not
Sort
yet.
of.
But
We have a massive meteor crash site.
yeah, let me zoom out. We'll take a couple minutes here and talk, and we'll take this opportunity to also to show some art that's upcoming. But here's a little alien crash site for you, Shadow. We have this huge crater where the gods fell some time ago, a couple hundred years ago, and when they impacted, their forms fragmented all across this world, and especially in this crater. And these fragments of gods are called Fibrum, and if you collect Fibrum, if you acquire Fibrum onto yourself, you can use it to ascend and become a god yourself. That's a big part of this world. So not quite aliens, but there's a god crash site right here. But let me show you guys. Erika and Tom, you good to take a little break and do some art?
It's good. I
Okay.
can catch up on some of these notes anyway.
Perfect. We are halfway through this stream, and I'm really excited to show art. So
things are going quick.
Heck yeah. Okay, so stand by. You guys are gonna see some cool stuff here. Boom. So, speaking of Fibrum, this is a piece that we had commissioned that showcases what shards of Fibrum looks like. I think he did a bang-up job making it look nice and shiny and not just look like glass. That's one piece. Let's see, what do I have here? Oh, there's a gnome for the world. I love the yellowish skin and the really cool I look at that material that he's wearing there, and I think it's like some dyed cotton, or wool. I love it.
My favorite part about the Gorgon is his name.
Yeah.
And my favorite part about the Gorgon is that he is inspired by Jerry Stiller.
Not by intent. At least not on my end. Maybe on the other's end.
Well, we got that art right after Jerry passed. And it looks quite a bit like Jerry Stiller.
Hey, that's fair. That's fair.
So, I will only have to assume that our wonderful artist...
It's all
so I can say, yeah, me too, David. It's Jerry Stiller the gnome.
Let's see. I'm going to skip some of this because I want some of it to be a surprise.
But you're showing it all.
I know, but it's not big.
Gotcha.
There. How about that? That is a illustrious multi-tool. So that's a new magic item that's going to be in the world. And basically, it's a Swiss Army knife that you can produce different tool sets like thieves' tools and carpentry tools and things like that. Gym crafters, jewel crafters tools. Um, it's a Swiss Army knife, exactly, David.
It's a magical Leatherman.
Yeah, yeah. I love it. I love it so much. And our artist, came up with this look for it on his own, and I'm like, yep, that's exactly what I wanted it to look like. He did such a good job. Um,
We have been super lucky that we give just the most bland description to our artists, and they're like, awesome, here it is.
No, David, this is so. I imagine this to be a common magic item, and it's literally just there so that you always can have multiple tool sets on hand, and they don't take up a whole bunch of space. And you could like hide this, right? If you're a thief, you only have to hide this little tiny Swiss Army knife instead of a whole toolkit, or whatever. Um, that's at least the idea. Um, Shadow Nim. Uh, Sizing, spacing, and cities. Yeah. So we'll talk about that here. Let me get through a couple more art pieces, but we'll talk a little bit about that because I 100% agree with you. It's not always the easiest thing, and we're learning too. But I'll talk to you about what we discovered. Let's do a couple more. There's our buddy the Perryton. Let me zoom in a little bit on that. Boom. Best art piece. Favorite art piece. There's never going to be a better art piece.
I disagree. There's another one that I like better, but you know that.
Yeah. 100% love that. And then let's see, we'll do one more. I don't want to do anything. Yeah, we'll show the one Thomas likes here. There's the tusk. For those of you who were here from the very beginning, one of the very first things we made was some of the pirate kingdoms, and there is the tusk and the black barnacle port that sits beneath it, and you're kind of sailing away from that, and that's the first view that you'll see when you play the new adventure coming to Kickstarter. All these art pieces go into the Kickstarter product. So hopefully next week we will have the cover to show off, which I'm really excited about. But for now, I think 3 pieces is a good thing to show off, and you could go back and pause, and you could see all of the pieces if you really wanted to.
And everybody, and Erika will know that this is the same artist that did all of our art for Dungeon.
Yeah.
Same fellow. So let's get back to this map here. What I'll tell you, Shadow, I played around a lot with it initially. A couple things I found super valuable. First and foremost, I'm not going to make a new one right now, but blow your proportions way up when you start to when you load up your map. I think it's like mine is like 2,000 or 3,000 wide. You want it to be huge in my opinion, because with most of the assets you can scale them down quite a bit, but you can't scale them up. And and then there's some assets like certain buildings that start out huge and they don't scale down very well. So you really want to find that happy medium where the small assets are big enough still to be portrayed, and the big assets you can scale down. There's that happy medium there. Let me zoom out though, and I'll kind of show you a couple of things. So we came up with this size for our map for a couple of reasons, mainly because of the product that it's going on. This map will be dropped onto a zine, and I wanted it proportioned right for that. But we'll zoom into this city here so you can kind of get a grasp. Depends on the ratios that you're wanting, but the reality is that you always want, unless you're going for a hyper realistic map, you always want your cities and your icons to be a little bit bigger than they would be. I don't know, Shadow. That's an interesting thought. If you have a way to override, or if you know of that way, I would love to hear about it. That would be really fascinating. But like here, we've got our huge port city of Filigree, and it probably wouldn't actually be that big where at least the castle in the center wouldn't be that big, but you want the castle represents the city to some extent.
Seeing as the square that it sits in is 25 miles squared.
Yeah, the city is that big. The city is that wide, but the castle wall is not that big. It's not 5 miles tall. And then the other thing that I really like to do, and we'll dive back into dwarves here real quick, but another thing that I really like to do that you probably know, Shadow, but it really helped me out a lot, is when I'm painting textures, drop your brush opacity and velocity down basically to nothing, and it really helps with blending quickly. Okay, you're saying go to symbol select. Guys, this could be life-changing if this works. Symbol select, highlight a symbol, then the option is there somewhere, I think. Okay, so let's check this out. So I'm going to grab a bridge, which is one of the worst of these, because look at how big this bridge can get. It's ridiculous.
It's like the dock over by the unequivocal diamond mine.
Exactly. Okay, so we've got it here. If I right-click it, nothing happens there. Maybe under advanced. So I see how you can definitely like mirror things, but a symbol below the eraser. Oh. Okay. Ooh, awesome. All right, so hang tight. Let me do this again, and then I promise we'll get back to stuff, but I want to see what happens here. All right, so we're going to select, we're going to override, and we're going to crank this thing up to 2. Override. Heck yeah, that works. Shadow Nim, welcome to the channel. Thank you so much. You're my favorite. You're my favorite viewer tonight. You get all the brownie points for this evening. Awesome. That made my night. Okay, cool. I'll play around with that this week, so I'm not taking up more of our building time.
You have earned a sub to the channel for the month.
There you go, and 1 shroot buck.
Yeah.
All right, so Alex Garuda says he's got an incoming massive post. I'm excited for that. And we'll get back to some dwarf building here, and especially around the capillaries, because I'm still obsessed with that, guys. You did a good job of hooking me. Zoom in a bit more.
Most of the time we get to the end of this thing and we're like, okay, we could talk for another 30 minutes, an hour.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna do with a skeletal graveyard with like the bones sitting on the dry parched land. Alex mentioned, Garuda mentioned up there that you with World War I, with all the trench warfare and all of that, the land is still pockmarked and scarred, and I think if this is the site of, at least in part, of a Tarrasque rampage, it 100% has like gouges ripped in the earth that haven't recovered, and like boulders that were raked from the buried ground and now sit on top, and 100%, that's cool. I don't have any bone icons, so we'll have to figure that out later, but I'll just leave it kind of a bare. You know what I could do is maybe give it some like white splotches. That might look cool. Do really small. Shoot our velocities down. Let's see. Glad to have you, David. We got a lot of stuff cooking already and this evening, and we're only a half an hour left on this thing, so We're gonna need all hands on deck.
And let's be honest here, we could always do if we have stuff flowing, it doesn't mean that we have to stop right on time.
That's fair.
We want to keep it close. But I'm waiting for this giant truth bomb from Alex.
It's all good. There's so much. There's so much happening here. I'm deciding against all of that. It's going to be 8 pages. Yeah, I'm fine with that. If it gives us what we need. We've got a hidden fibrin pocket. We've got a Tarrasque. We've got the capillary fields. There's a lot here, and I think that's gonna be that's gonna make these dwarves really interesting.
No, for sure.
They got a lot of it in the oven, and I think that makes sense because we really haven't touched on dwarves a lot, but I did feel like dwarves were a big part of this continent. So,
yes, well, dwarves should be a big part of every continent.
Right on. There's probably multiple groups of dwarves, and that's kind of why I put a couple of different buildings, a couple of different strongholds on either side of these mountains. Like, they probably work in concert, but there's probably like the mages school, which we still need to come up with a name for. And there's probably like a more trade focused, front facing entity as well. The place where if you want to go hire dwarven mercenaries or dwarven miners, you would go there and not to the enchanter's school. You guys can probably hear the fireworks.
Well,
in my headset.
It would probably be the school would probably be up in the mountains. Maybe the dwarf. I'm gonna put a pin in the map here by the water. Maybe the dwarfs are out here somewhere.
Okay, hang on. Let me refresh over there.
Yep.
Get a good peek.
It's just right there, far eastern side. It's the one I'm sort of moving around.
Maybe
it's
dwarves.
There. It's on your map. Yep, where it says maybe dwarfs.
Yeah. So that's like over down here.
You're seeing it move actually on the stream.
Yeah.
On the coast.
You think that there's another dwarven collection over there?
No, I was thinking that maybe dwarves are here on this eastern side of the western half of the continent, where they have sort of a bigger outpost, and then the school is up here in the mountains.
Yeah, because the mercenaries would probably want to be more accessible.
Yeah, they want to be able to get back and forth from their main place. I would assume at least.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe right up here where the inlet to the ocean is.
What if I tucked?
So there's no.
What if I tucked one? Because I think I agree that there needs to be something on the coast. Also, yes, David, I was thinking the exact same thing. I'm like, geez, Louise, there's a lot on this map now. What if I dropped?
Alex said, Alex was trying to do it. He's like, oh crap, only 500 characters can be posted. So now he has to split them up into 500 character sections.
I feel your pain. Like, what if, I don't really like that for the, I'm going to do this one again. What if we did like another one tucked back here, like so?
Yeah, either there or all the way to your right, basically down.
Like here?
Down like where the pin is now. Yeah, like there, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I'm fine with either one of those.
And then the school is out farther, like deeper into the mountains.
Yeah, I think that's where these towers are here, at least in my mind. Like, that's probably the school. Alex, I'm going to read your what's it called? Your when you write your PhD, when you
Your thesis?
yeah, I'm going to read your
Yeah.
thesis here in just a moment. I just need to drop this freaking stronghold somewhere, and then we'll hopefully get
Dissertation.
dissertation. That's the word I really wanted. Yes, good job. Thank you, David. Thesis works as well, though.
Oh my gosh.
Alex, that's I expected nothing less. That's great. Um, okay, so I could be sold on either one. Do you chat before we dive into Tarask again? Let's hear it from you. Do you want a port up here, kind of making a little triangle here, or do you want a line 1, 2, 3, triangle or line with these 3 dwarven strongholds? And we'll just make it happen. And while you guys are deciding that, I'm going to dive into Alex's thing.
David says line.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I like the line too.
Okay.
It's easier to make a trade route straight line that
Yeah.
doesn't cross the mountains. It also lets them have a port,
Hmm.
which is weird for dwarves, but I like it. So, triangle. Ooh, Shadow Nim is saying triangle. She is the specialty guest for the night. Why not do both? So maybe take one of these castles, like the middle castle, and put it back against the top water. One at the top of the mountains is for rangers. Rangers?
Rangers. Okay. I'm on board. Oh, Atheros, welcome. Glad to have you. We are. You can see we are a busy chat tonight. Okay, so
Sorry we missed last week. I knew you were looking for it. We, as we said in the beginning, we had some issues last week, some family issues and some technology issues, and couldn't go live.
yeah. Okay, so first and foremost, we like a line, and then we'll have a ranger thing up to the north. I think that's cool. So I'm going to just go ahead and drop this here as another stronghold, and I'm going to put some buildings around it to make it look more like a place that visitors frequent. And I think that will help. And then there's not a great dock, but we can recognize that there is a dock here.
He is talking about 10 towns. We know a lot about 10 towns now, David.
Okay, so I'm gonna find a little thing, and then I will recap for all of you Alex's dissertation. All right, so there, boom. Okay, cool. All right, so Alex is saying, and I think I agree with him, that the it seems improbable, and this kind of goes back to what Thomas was saying, that it seems improbable that the cities would be built so close to the Tarask if they had warred against it. Why would they do it? They don't really stand a chance against the Tarask if it reawakens. So why would they build their cities right here? That makes sense, to a large extent. And also, so what he was saying was that maybe the conflict, this capillary field, happened long ago in history and was the result of dwarven nations, two dwarven nations warring against each other. And the old gods, the ones that fell, grew tired of the struggle and placed a Tarask to basically wipe out the dwarven entities for a time, kind of shut everything down.
That's quite the FU card.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then the gods caused the Tarask to go back into slumber as a constant reminder to the dwarves that remained of their folly. And so the dwarves that we see now are a combination of those two old societies and them trying to um, remain comfortable with each other at this point. I think I'm down with that. Like,
Yeah.
first off, it doesn't make me redo a whole bunch of the map, which I'm always happy about. But also, it's some cool lore that I'm really interested to play with. So, I think that's cool. Yeah. So Shadow, you're talking about delivering goods. You've stumbled across a huge part of the chat's take on these streams, which is the chat is always on the hunt. Atheros is really good at it. Always on the hunt for what would bring the players here and what would keep them here. What are quest lines? What are plot hooks? What are all these little things? And so, absolutely. You got all these different dwarven strongholds, and there's got to be a way to get assets from point A to point B to point C. So that's 100% a cool idea. Ooh, yeah, heck yeah, Dave. Okay, so Dave is saying that because the dead, he's talking about the necrotic energies. If you pull too much, it brings the armies back from the dead, which also heralds the return of the Trask. I think it heralds the return of the Trask because the dead have not learned their lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Like the dwarven spirits that would be brought forth are not interested in the new alliances and things like that. So bring them back. You bring back old wounds. You open old wounds, which will awaken the Tarask, which I think is really cool. And it also, like, I don't know that it's within the scope of what these dwarves would do, but there might be an enemy of the dwarves that is plotting to awaken the dwarven ancestors just to awaken the Tarask, which would be really fun.
So, what is the active thing that's holding the Tarask asleep?
I think it's like Alex. To play off what Alex says, I think that it's this idea that the god said the Tarask is meant as a
A warning or a lesson.
oh yeah, like kind of like this is not the right word, but a babysitter,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like the Tarask is there for when you act up, and if you don't act up,
No.
the Tarask slumbers, and if you do act up, it awakens. It's a check and balance for the folly of the dwarves.
I get that, but the old gods aren't here anymore.
But that doesn't mean that the Tarask isn't still. That means so on one way of saying it is that the Tarask isn't necessarily it's placed and then it's now not controlled by the gods. It just has directives of the gods. Or you could say the fact that the gods aren't here anymore means that the directive of the old gods is waning, and the Trask might wake up whether or not the spirits are risen or not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
So.
man, there's
A lot to parse through.
yeah. Good job, chat. I'm doing my best to keep up, but you're
So
busy tonight.
the dead dwarven still linger in the idea of the Terras being their downfall, so their energy with those who seek to eliminate that. Keep you from keeping up. Yeah, that happens often. It happens even worse when Jonathan is actually our guest because he's talking a lot as well. Jonathan has all the ideas.
Oh, I may.
Should be the Tarrasque is just asleep after wreaking havoc. It grew tired and went to rest like the force of nature that it is.
Gotcha. Okay, so I'm 100% certain, keeping on this for just a moment, that the boneyards, there are wraiths and other types of spirits to be found there. Like 100%, there's signs that, as dwarves do, they have dug too greedily and too deep here, and it's starting the process of bringing the spirits back.
So do I just, when I'm taking notes here, do I just cut and paste Alex's entire dissertation?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I will go back and read that several times when I'm...
That's a whole chapter in whatever book we put out, and we don't have to write it.
So, Alex, yeah, that may be the easiest way to do it, is to just say that it was placed, it was awakened, it was whatever, but it's not currently controlled.
So
Yeah.
if it chose to go to sleep, why would it choose to reawaken? Because we were saying before, if the gods told it to go to sleep and then the gods are gone, it will wake back up. But if we're not considering that dominance, there's got to be something else waking it up.
Yeah.
If
If we want it to be woken
Right.
up, which at some point we do, because a sleeping Tarrasque is not really a Tarrasque.
Yeah.
So Atheros, just to catch you up just a hair, we're designing dwarven societies up here in the north. We know that there's a sleeping Tarrasque that we're playing with, and there's an ancient battlefield that the dwarves are harvesting necrotic energy from to their own detriment, future, potentially. Okay.
Ooh, because the smell of a bloody battle tempts it to wake up for centuries for a snack.
Yeah,
so maybe the ghosts and stuff, maybe with these things coming back, there's some sort of like stench on the air or something.
And maybe there's just the idea of like bloodshed, current bloodshed, is
just bloodlust.
I was reading in a product up here on the shelf. I'm trying to think about which one it was. It may have been the new Odyssey of the Dragonlords product, but they were talking about a class that could, or a creature that could smell blood for 6 miles, and I'm like that sort of thing with a Tarrasque could very much be the thing where like enough bloodshed in a radius that it can detect and it will awaken. Atheros, we think that the Tarrasque probably attacked the area a long, long time ago, like before the gods fell. Yep, exactly. Thomas, copy and paste that thing that David just posted about whites can speak with sentient zombies that act out normal day-to-day activities and signs of ghost marching that disappear as soon as they are seen. 100% some of those are going to make the cut. I love that the dead aren't just being brought back in an ethereal sense into undeath, but they're like almost seeming to transition back into life, which is really cool. The gods' fall happened 200 years ago, roughly, Atheros. Yeah. This probably happened several hundred years ago at the least. It would be it's long enough that
I think it's probably long enough that nobody here remembers.
Yeah, no
It
dwarfs
happening.
are alive. I think that has to be true, right? Like, there's no old dwarfs that remember the war.
Mhm.
And I think that if the way I'm picturing it is that even the oldest dwarfs tell story of their oldest relatives maybe being very young for it.
Yeah, yeah,
So like there's the idea that this has happened, but it's more of like a fever pitch.
hmm dwarves are really good with kind of respecting the past and remembering the past. Like humans forget things so quickly and don't remember their lessons, but I think dwarves typically do. Um, Not that they have it all figured out, as we're seeing with them harvesting this necromantic energy, but I think they would tell you that they remember and maintain strategies. I'm looking here. According to D&D Beyond, a dwarf lives about 350 years. So if we say top end, they're like 450. Um, I would say bare minimum, this was 500 years ago, but probably closer to like 1,000 at least.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that our dwarves have to be exactly the same either.
no, 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 no.
I mean,
It's
we've played with that idea um, more than once of our races being a little different than others.
David. Did you just make up that quote? Because if you did, um, I'm going to steal it from you. If not, if you stole it, then it's already twice stolen. You just stole it. Okay. You made that up. All right. Let's copy that. Um, drop it in because I need. That's going to be a great line to have when we're talking about writing something about Trask. Dave, you weren't here earlier, and Atheros wasn't as well, but Garuda here in chat was our guest for a couple weeks ago, and he worked on the Dark Mantle Gorge and the Tieflings that live there. So you can still go back and watch that episode on our backlog on Twitch, and I would definitely recommend it because Alex has some really cool ideas, and there's some really sweet stuff happening just right to the west of everything that we're building tonight.
And we're trying to figure out how to get things on YouTube.
Yep.
We have some on YouTube, and then some things started going wonky. So
Yep. I'm gonna make that a priority this week. So anyhow, all right. So we have rangers, we have a mages school, we have um, a couple other settlements that they can that are kind of their front facing stuff.
I will say that this race probably, or these dwarves probably feel like I don't think they'd get along too well with Whistle.
Yeah.
Just a feel.
It's one of those things where dwarves are always the ones that are hard that don't play well with others.
Yeah.
That being said, I think dwarves are very pragmatic. So I think they probably like send trade emissaries down to Whistle, but they would never admit to being friends with them.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we send people down there because because we have things that they want. That would be the dwarves. Like we'll never turn down anyone's coin. If it's gold, it's good.
So, what are we missing, Erika? What is going through your mind right now that we're missing?
So in the beginning, you asked me whether the dwarves would live more underground or on the surface, but and I said the surface. I think we should cover what's underground too.
Okay.
I think that's a good call. Atheros is putting some good things in there. The tectonic movement is another great idea for why the Trask is waking up. There's probably like 18 rumors, right?
Hmm.
So that's cool. And then I love that like the dwarves are like, look, you had some petty theft, so we're gonna make you one of our emissaries,
Yep.
trade emissaries. Like, that's hilarious. Um, that's awesome.
I love that this awesome city that we built is like a negative for the dwarves.
And yeah, Garuda, you're 100% right. Like, they're still dwarves. They still have their pride. And you'll see, Dave, that I 100% love Cleanhold. I added that. But okay, so underground.
Did I lose you?
Nope. I'm
Okay.
thinking. I'm thinking here.
Everyone got pretty quiet. For a
Yeah,
second.
yeah. People are born from are sent out as emissaries. Is that what you're thinking, Alex?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what he's saying.
Gotcha. Yeah, we want to be. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I was thinking about, like, would dwarves see not mixing the clans as going against the intent of the gods? But I think that they would find a way around that, right? They would find an explanation that allowed their bloodlines to stay clear by and large. Yeah. Well, the point of the, like, they would, like, I can imagine them saying, well, the lesson that we're to learn is to work together, and two entities are stronger for that. But if we combine and become one entity, then we can no longer learn the lesson that the gods intended, because there are not two people to get along but one. It'd be it'd be something stupidly contrived like that that makes no sense. Um, yeah, David. Yeah. Um, okay, so underground. We know that the fibrum is going to be tucked away underground somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I love the idea that maybe like these dwarves don't really get everything you can do with Fibra, maybe, and they're using it, and they're like they're making spells and enchanting items and things like that, and they're sort of the ones that have built our like crafting section.
Yeah, yeah.
I missed why we're laughing now.
Atheros.
Fight together, not sleep together.
That's the creed. Like, I can see that, like, emblazoned above an archway to, like, like their temple.
Yep.
It's what's it called? Needle pointed in every dwarven home.
Yeah.
It's just in a little like plaque on above their like fridge.
Yeah. I love that. That's, yeah. There's a lot I could say there, but we're gonna try to get through these. So is there? I feel like there would be like an underground tunnel connecting all of these strongholds.
Right.
That being said, for those of you who are new to this world building stream, just like the Feywild is here on the material plane, the lower planes are right underneath the surface of this world. So it's called the underworld, and that's the lair of the fiends, the demons and devils. So even though they've got lower tunnels that connect these, there's always going to be a danger anytime you're very far underground at all, that you're going to inadvertently cross paths with one of these dark denizens. David, you're the best. Yep. Yep. Tom, you better steal all of these, because this is perfect. Perfect.
I'm gonna have to go back and rewrite these.
Yeah. that it's worth it though.
It's not many episodes do I go through and re-listen to them.
Ooh, yeah, Athros, that's cool. Like
Mm.
they can like the biofibrum is if they accidentally like I I imagine that that's something that happens as a rarity, but the biofibrum is a cursed item 100% and would create cursed magic weapons and things. So it would be the equivalent of like a bad batch, right? And like they'd release a statement that's like, you know, um, the arms and armor produced between year of our Lord 1886 in the month of May to 1886 in the month of October were unknowingly produced with fibrum vitae. We apologize to all of our customers, and we'll work. We have put forth measures to ensure that this doesn't happen again.
If you got a curse, please go see.
Yeah. Please return any cursed items to the local to the nearest dwarven reliquary and have your item exchanged for an item of equal or lesser value.
We can't promise that we will take care of any curses that was on you,
Yeah.
as per ownership of the item in question.
Yes. 100%. That definitely happened.
Or the opposite is that they're selling cursed items to Whistle.
Mildly cursed. I think that
Yeah.
they wouldn't.
It'd be like somebody's nose would never stop itching.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Well, it's like they still have like a portion of that bad batch, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, you know how we can get rid of this? We can just like trickle feed it into Whistle.
Mm-hmm.
they'll sell it to the cities all around.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be dispersed. By the time anybody figures out what's going on, it's going to be dispersed to the four winds. That being said, dwarves are typically very, very conscientious of quality. So I don't want to get too far off that. That being said, I love the idea that they know that they can get away with this.
There's a difference, right? There's a difference between having a quality item. You can have a quality item with a curse. It's not a pop metal axe. It's still a good axe. It's just it also comes with a curse.
Yeah. Yes. All of our items are tested for quality. Even the quality of our cursed items is assured. Exactly. That's hilarious. Yeah, Gruda, I think that there are war propaganda posters everywhere for a lot of this. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's interesting. So that's maybe a thing to stick on for a bit. I know we haven't got too much on the underground, which if anybody has ideas there, we definitely want to hear them as we're getting close to the end here. But I love the idea that there are maybe they're not families, but there are factions, and there's a faction that's doing all these unsavory things. That's kind of a fun way of doing that. They're the ones that are awakening the spirits. They're the ones that are producing these cursed items. That's kind of cool.
So it's just like one of the guilds is putting out these things.
Oh, perfect. That's great, Alex. So the idea would be that the faction isn't happy with it, with the unholy matrimony of the two dwarven clans, right? And they would rather have a rampaging Tarrasque, or an unhappy gods, or undead rising, or whatever, than to watch their two clans fall into a watered down whatever, right? That's interesting. Mm-hmm. Lots of good ideas there, chat. I really like. There is a city. My mind's drawing a blank, but there's a city just south of Neverwinter on the Sword Coast that is basically a spot where paladins are in constant war. It's like a city ran by paladins that are in constant war with creatures from the Underdark below. It's called like the Silver Citadel or something like that. And
It's in between. It's north of Thornhold.
yeah, if I pulled it up, I would find it. But anyhow, I love the idea that maybe that's part of the underground thing, Erika, to where like a big part of why the dwarves built so much on the surface is because there's an outlet or an inlet, however it would be, a connection to the underworld that they are built on top of, and they're constantly just repelling enemy forces from this space.
Yeah. See, when I was starting to think of underground stuff, I I recently watched The Descent. So,
Oh,
yeah. So the monster part of that, like, it's it's the idea that they were people who went down there to find whatever treasure they were finding and got stuck, and they like kind of evolved to be those creatures.
mm-hmm.
I was thinking like there could be that threat, that type of threat. Like other people went down to find the Fibrum, got stuck,
Mm-hmm.
and became monstrous.
Perfect, because we have a type of creature called a glassjaw, which is basically someone who's corrupted by fibro.
Okay.
So there you go. Yeah, there can absolutely be that. Hey, Dave, take it easy. Glad to have you on.
Yep. See you soon.
That's really cool. Yeah. That there's like locked pockets of this stuff, of glassjaws down there that were dwarves long ago, decades ago, because it can't be too long. But
Yeah.
that would be cool. So there's glassjaws. Like, to me, I love the fact that there's like dwarves sitting on the surface, and when the party comes in, it's like, where's all your mining? Where's all your whatever here in this area? And they're like, this is not a place to be underground unless
Yeah.
you have
Don't go down.
a mason hand, um, and like we do. We send people down there. We have fortifications down there, but it's a war zone. Um,
So maybe they have like guard buildings like at the edge of their things, but mostly their tunnels from civilization to civilization are done through the sides of the mountains, not underground.
yeah, there could be tunnels. It would be one of those things where, though, it's like going through this tunnel is fast but hyper dangerous, right? So, you can make it if you like a really well armed caravan that moves quickly can pass through. But it's not for the solitary traveler. Yeah, guys, there's definitely like a subterranean glass jaw option here that would be a lot of fun. I've got somewhere here a write up on what a glass jaw is, so I'll just take all your cool ideas here: dark vision, light sensitivity, name blinded glass jaw is really good, and we'll maybe come up with one there. um,
I think that puts us in a pretty good place.
yeah, that's cool. This sends a good feel. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that again because I think that would be a good mood for some of this area up here, especially underground.
Descent.
Descent, yeah.
Echolocation. That would be cool.
Yeah, the Descent creatures also had supersonic hearing.
Mm.
Um, They claimed also heightened sense of smell, but there's a scene that negates that.
Um, so Atheros, you were thinking like drow vision, like the heat sensitivity, like seeing in the heat spectrum.
Mm.
It's kind of, that's the tricky thing, is that dark vision can play out in a couple different ways. But yeah, there's Devil's Sight too, right? Which is the one where you see in red.
Mhm.
We our fire genasi see in the heat spectrum
Mm-hmm.
in this world.
Yep. 100%.
It'd be interesting with heat, or like heat vision. It would encourage like the players to like pack themselves in like cold mud or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Ooh.
that the
Yeah.
tactics, the tactic opportunity there is really fun.
Hmm.
Cool.
It's like trying to hide away from the predator.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't know how you guys feel, but I feel like we're gonna, if we really wanted to get fully done with these dwarves, we'd need another hour and a half.
Do another one next week.
I think we may have to come back and talk some more on Clan Hold next week.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Erika, you'll have to let us know if you're free again.
Yeah.
that'd be fun.
I'm free.
Cool.
Awesome.
Let's plan on that. We'll do some more. I there's a lot of still conversations going on. I promise we're gonna go back through and read all your thoughts there on chat. I've caught most of them, but I want to make sure that I capture everything because got good ideas flowing. But let's start to tie up some loose ends here. I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that I save our progress. But let's do a quick recap since we have some new people here in chat. Some exciting things are in the works. First off, we didn't get to congratulate Dave in person. He hopped off before the end. But those of you who are in the chat will be happy to know that Dave's second Kickstarter was successful over the last couple weeks. He has successfully funded Player's Guide to Orient. Good for him. And really happy that we got to be a part of it. What is the occasional boop sound? It's, you guys are probably hearing it from my headphones here. The boop is WonderDraft telling me that it went ahead and saved our map. Then also Thomas and I are going to be running games at Gen Con Online here in just a few short weeks. This is your cheapest ever opportunity to be a part of Gen Con. You can get a badge for free. You can come play at one table. The ticket price is reduced this year to play at a game. And most of the money that you're going to be paying, if not all of it, will go to a charity. So it's going to be a really fun experience. And help me out with the dates there, Thomas. That's like the first week of
July 30th, 31st, 1st and 2nd of August.
August. Perfect.
Positive.
Yeah.
It's July 30th, 31st, 1, 2 of August.
Yeah. Exactly. Perfect. And then the last thing, well, two last things. Two last things. Dungeon returns on Monday. We're really excited. I think that we're in a really interesting section of
we had
this
so much fun last time.
It's gonna get weird on Monday, 9 o'clock Central.
Awesome.
Last but not least, we have our first Kickstarter, our first product. Thomas has been posting into the chat there, but the first Ascension product coming directly from these world building streams is coming to Kickstarter on July 13th. It's really, really cool. It has all the art that we've been talking about. It's going to have this very map on the back of it, kind of tweaked a hair, but we are going to have a ton of stuff that you're going to remember from the world building. We're going to have things about the crater. We're going to have things about the pirate isles. We're going to have things about all the different races. Some of the subclasses that we talked about at the beginning of this whole shebang are going to be wedged in there. It's really, really, really cool. And the best part about it is that we are doing a zine format for this first one. So not only are you getting a level 1 to 3 adventure and all of these cool player options and a bit of the campaign setting, but the whole thing, the PDF is like $7. The zine is going to be like 15. So we're looking for a very cost-effective way to deliver these cool things to you up until the hardcover later this year. So
And we're still going to try to keep that as cost effective as possible.
100%, 100%.
There will be PDF copies of that too, if you don't want to do a physical copy. So we are excited to make sure that we keep this as a product for everybody.
Yep. So anyhow, July 13th. July 13th is the
You
day.
can, if you click the link that I've posted in chat, you can follow the Kickstarter, and it will give you a notification when we go live. And then I received my very exciting and very special copy of Oceanic Depths.
Ooh, yeah.
Which is Zach's last Kickstarter.
Yeah.
If you're ever, you can't probably see it well. It's hard with my camera, but you can see it on our Instagram. I've posted. But this beautiful art, this artist is going to do some of the work for us as well. It is 110 pages. 110 without the cover.
Yeah.
Of work mostly in anything you need to turn your sea voyage into a perfect campaign.
Yeah. Thank you.
So.
That's really good. Garuda there did a lot of the layout for that book, a ton of it actually. So he did a really good job.
And if anybody needs one, you let Zach or I know, and we'll ship one to your house.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Atheros, I'm going to send you a PDF. Check your PMs here after a bit. I'll send you a PDF. Other than that, Atheros, you mentioned D&D Live before. 100%, it was awesome. 10 of 10 would do again. Really good experience, really good learning experience for us. And the cool thing is that crew is who's going to be doing Gen Con. So we're taking all of the learning lessons from 4 days of gaming, and we're going to make it even better next 4 days of gaming. So
on top of that stream and all the effort for all the DMs, for all men and everything else raised $315,000 for Red Nose Day.
Yeah, really cool. Really cool.
So almost $350,000.
Yeah. Atheros, if you don't mind, send me the best way for me to give you a PDF of that is to an email address. If you wouldn't mind, just private message us here an email address that you'd like it sent to, and I'll kick you out one tonight. Guys, I think that's gonna do it.
Yeah. I think it is.
Erika, thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us, and we're really excited to have you back, hopefully next week.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right.
Awesome, guys.
Atheros, Alex, David, Shadow, everybody else that was in the chat, thanks for making this as hectic and as crazy and as fun as it was. And we'll see you next week.
Awesome, guys.